You are holding a significant lead so far in the state's attorney's race, so are you confident that you'll secure a fifth term?
Look, I think it's very important that every vote be counted, but you begin to look at the math, and I think it becomes we were pretty confident that we will be ultimately successful, because as we sit here today, we've had our first round of mail-in ballots counted, and my lead actually increased overnight. So I expect that trend to continue, and I'm confident that we're gonna be ultimately successful. But I'm gonna let the process take place. Let's count every vote.
So what do you think you've accomplished so far that you can contribute this success to, and why do you think people want you reelected?
I actually think that we've been a very common sense voice for the community for a very, very long time. I think we've done a tremendous amount of outreach to the community, whether it's through Montgomery County Public Schools, where we have 7 different programs where we intervene with kids on things like substance abuse issues, like opiates, where we talk about bullying issues within our schools, where we talk about internet safety issues. And I think parents respect and are very grateful for those efforts. I think with the senior community, I have always made it a significant part of my own responsibilities and what I do as state's attorney to reach out to the senior community. It's the fastest growing community, individuals over the age of 65 in Montgomery County. And during the time I've been state's attorney, I have 300 times, not somebody else, personally gone out and spoken to senior communities. Well, sometimes it's at Riderwood or Leisure World or, Asbury. But a lot of times it's also these educational programs that are these terrific organizations like OSHER and OASIS that serve the very vibrant senior community. So I think people got to know me. And I would, if you go out there 300 times and you present 2-hour lectures 300 times to thousands of people, that's important. I've also been involved in the community in a lot of other ways. One of the things I am most proud of is the fact that I coached youth sports in the county for about 35 years. I was inducted into the Youth Coaching Hall of Fame for Montgomery County. There are lots of kids in this community that I coached. And again, maybe even more significantly, I've taught at Montgomery College for 43 years. There are 5,000 people that live in this community, 5,000 people that formerly were my students at the college. So whether it's the college, through the Montgomery County Public Schools, whether it's the senior community, I think we found ways to connect with all segments of the community. And I think all of those things collectively helped us.
So you're talking about students and school safety, and of course your office is already involved in the issue of school violence, but in your next term, what would you do further to address student safety and student violence?
Unfortunately, a great many of our gun seizures, a great many of our ghost guns are finding themselves in the hands of people under 21 who by law are not permitted to possess a handgun. Multiple times those guns made their way into Montgomery County Public Schools. Look, I'm a father and a grandfather. I understand the concerns of anybody who has children in the school system, that we want these school systems to be safe, and we do not want guns in our school. That is something we have to address, and I think the ghost gun ban is going to help us do that. What we've done already, and we're going to continue to do, we have put up a gun safety task force, a unit that's now in my office. Karen Mooney is a woman who works for me, is heading that unit. We've assigned a number of attorneys to work with that unit, and we are going to particularly, at least begin, to try to gather intelligence information about individuals who come into the criminal justice system under the age of 21 with handgun violations involving violent crime, because that is a great percentage of what we're talking about, and it's, to me, the most alarming percentage. So we are going to be using our grand jury. We're working with the Montgomery County Police. The police are doing the same thing. They have put up a stand-up gun task force unit. We have put a stand-up gun task force unit. We are talking every day. We are going to begin a process of putting every one of the persons who are under the age of 21, who are found in possession, particularly of ghost guns, we're going to put them in the grand jury. And we're going to begin to find out information about trends and patterns to try to identify if people are trafficking in these guns, where they're coming from, who the manufacturers are. We want to know, to someone's, unfortunately, 15, 16, 17 years old, Who did you buy the gun from? Where was it delivered? How did you pay for it? Who helped you build it? Are you aware of others that are building handguns? Have you sold a gun? Are you aware of others that are selling guns? We have identified already individuals who've ordered a lot of these guns. Like one individual, I'm not going to get into the exact number, but tens of these guns. There's no reason in the world for someone to be having 10, 20, 30, 100 ghost guns mailed to their house. Crime in Montgomery County during the first 14 years I was state's attorney went down nearly 30%. When there was a partnership between Ike Leggett and Tom Manger and myself, things were phenomenal in this community in terms of crime. It dropped 3 times the national average. Now, we've had some go the other direction the last couple of years. I can't help that some of that is because of a lack of communication, that some of those lines of communication have broken down, and sometimes I think there's a mixed message that's coming to the people about whether they should communicate or cooperate with the police. We can't have a mixed message about that. We cannot have a mixed message about that. That's a hard stop. If we want this to be a safer community, we as governmental leaders have to come together, encourage people to work with the police, respect the police, because ultimately they'll be the beneficiaries of it.
We know that County Executive Mark Elridge has been his administration has been critical of the police department about police operations. Do you think that the county executive administration, maybe there needs to be some improvement there when you talk about communication with police and people trusting police?
Let me say this. I've had some very close relationships with some of the people that are in Mr. Elridge's administration. And I will tell you, there's some great people that work in that administration. And I know, and I believe that they've identified some of the same things. And I think their voices are being heard more. But look, I think we need to work together. I do not think we can have a divided leadership in terms of law enforcement in the community. We have to stand together to improve safety in the community and have a singular message about respect, not disrespect for criminal justice, and not disrespect for the courts or state's attorneys or police. That is not a message that makes us safer. And I think we need to do a better job of messaging and coming together on that. And we can't have a different message. We can't create a situation where people think that the police are the enemy. How are you, if that's the way you characterize it, why would you ever expect anybody to cooperate? I'm also mindful. Look, you don't go through the process I went through for the last 18 months and not recognize that there are lots of people in this community that care very much about racial and ethnic fairness in the criminal justice system. That is not lost on me. And that's one of the reasons that we hired a prosecutor initiative out of Miami, Florida, that's working with the University of Maryland to do an overall study of the way we function here in the office, because there are many component parts to this job. And one of the component parts is to make sure that you do it fairly and you don't disproportionately prosecute blindly and have a disproportionate impact on racial or ethnic grounds that are not founded in reason and the law. If there are some individuals who do not think they have a sufficient voice in government, a voice in criminal justice, I want to reach out to them. And the people that I ran against in this race, I would hope if they have connected in some way to segments of the community that we need to work with, this is like, with malice towards none, with charity for all, let's come together as a community. I would love to work with the people who ran against me. If they feel that there are voices in their community not being heard, work with me, identify those people, help me communicate to make us a better community. I welcome their assistance as well. I welcome anybody's assistance that gets us talking to each other and being the kind of community that we can be.